Hello everybody, this is Bazker, and in this series we are going to be playing a game called Banished. If you've never played Banished before, Banished is a kind of a city simulator based on a village that people have to create. They were banished from whatever town they were from, and they've got to kind of make it on their own. So in this series I'm going to be using one mod, well, two mods technically, but I'll probably never use the second mod. If you've never used it, it's called Colonial Charter. There's several different versions of it, which all of these are on Steam, all the way up to Curse of the Golden Llama. However, I'm going to be playing today with 1.6, The Forge Awakens. This is the latest Colonial Charter mod, and it is not yet available on Steam, but it can be found on the Colonial Charter website, which I'll put a link in the description below if you'd like to check it out. There are a few bugs with it, and I've actually tried to record this Let's Play 2 times now, and I kept running into bugs, but I've played it a bit now, and I think I've kind of found where some of the bugs were and what not to do so that we don't run into those. So hopefully we'll be good this time around and we'll be able to play. The other mod that I have enabled is the debug menu. This is kind of a cheat menu for all intents and purposes. I don't really plan to use this at all, but there is one button that I really do like, and it's called, I believe, Replenish Deer Population. So in this game there's hunting lodges, and your hunters can go out and hunt deer. With this mod, the Colonial Charter mod, they can also hunt ducks. But sometimes there's not enough ducks or deer around on the map at all. You can overhunt them, and in dire situations I might go in and click the button to refresh the population so that we get some more back. Something I very seldom use, but I'm going to keep it on just in case we need it for something. When it comes to playing this game, I'm in it more for the aesthetics than the challenge, so I don't mind clicking a few buttons here and there if I absolutely have to, but we're going to try to limit it for this series just to keep it as real as possible. And we're going to call it Baztopia. And I don't really have a particular seed in mind. The seed is what generates the map and determines how much water, flatlands, that kind of thing are on there, in conjunction with the terrain type to generate a map that you can play on. And for the most part they're random. You can look around at Reddit and a couple places like that, and you can actually find some pretty good map seeds that other people have already discovered, and kind of eliminates the guesswork out of this, because there's no preview for this. You'd have to create your town, back out, or go in, look at it, if it's not what you want, back out, recreate your town, and try again. We're just going to pick one. We're going to go with whatever it is, unless it just happens to be extremely terrible. I'm going to probably play on Verdant Plains, but you can see there are several different Colonial Charter specific terrain types that you can pick from. Flat plains, which has like almost no water on it, just enough for a trader. Not very good from a fishing standpoint, things of that nature. There's mountains, deserts, that kind of thing. Water world, which I haven't played with at all yet, but as the name suggests, I would assume that means there is a ton of water. One thing this particular version of Colonial Charter introduces is dock building, in the sense that you can build entire towns on nothing but water. I've played a little bit with it, and it looks kind of cool, but early game you would pretty much still have to build on land, in my opinion. You would have to build up resources in order to build those dock bases. So we're going to stick away from that. We're going to go with Verdant Plains. Pretty good combo of some hills and mountains and flat plains. Lots of good places to build. I'm going to go with large. You can also go with very large in the Colonial Charter mods. I don't really recommend this. Large is pretty big on its own. Very large will end up getting you into some trouble sometimes. You also have climate. I'm probably going to pick the Mediterranean, no snow. I've been playing on that and I really kind of like it, but there's some other options that you can pick from. When you choose one, it doesn't actually update anywhere telling you what it is, so it's just something you kind of got to play with and get an idea for. For the most part, you can get some pretty good guesses. Like very harsh is going to be difficult to build on probably. We'll stick with Mediterranean. I'm turning off disasters. I don't like tornadoes coming through and ripping up my entire town. Like I said, I play this for the aesthetics of the game, nothing more. If you want to turn on disasters, you're more welcome to. Disasters include fire and tornadoes. I'm not sure if there's anything else offhand. There might be like an extreme cold disaster. I don't recall. Starting conditions. One that I'm going to tell you flat off not to use until this mod is actually released is all the wild things easy. With this version of the mod, you end up with these wild cows, which are kind of cool because you can, hunt them down, you can slaughter them, and you got a lot of free beef. And that's cool, except for they're going to reproduce without any kind of control whatsoever and fill your screen to the point where it's going to peg out your game and it's going to crash. That was the thing that happened to me the first 2 times that I tried to play this game. So I would recommend staying away from this. I have gotten a response from the developers, and they said they are aware of the bug and just not to use it until they make the official release, which will be sometime, hopefully, in the next month or so. It's not up to the Colonial Charter people. It's up to the developer of the game, Shining Rock. They are currently in a beta version, and this beta version is required for this new Colonial Charter mod. So they've got a bunch of changes, but they're not going to push it until the official release and put it on Steam. So hopefully that'll happen here within the next couple of months. Alright, so I think I am going to take Bayou Easy. Haven't really played on it. I'm going to give that a try. And you can see what the starting conditions give you. Actually, I probably won't take this one. This one gives you Docktown up and running. I don't want that. The more I think about it, that's not good. But that gives you an idea of where it tells you what things are. So let's take a look at like El Dorado. A standard easy game with new mod, trees only, clothing, food, firewood. Yeah, I don't want that either. Alright, I think that I have decided to take this Matacapan Jungle. Not exactly sure if I'm saying that anywhere near correct. I'm sure I'm probably not. But we're going to start with this, and we'll go from there. Tools and reports menu that's really handy with the Colonial Charter is this little CC button. This is going to give you a chart showing you what all the icons mean. So like you see building supplies here, for instance. So some different buildings, more advanced buildings, require building supplies. Some like medium tier buildings, they require lumber. So that's what those icons are, and that's how you can find out what they are. It doesn't necessarily help you with where to find it. Yeah, you can look at some of it and say, well, Ale Brewery comes from, the building icon brewery, that kind of thing. But it's not super helpful in that respect unless they've updated it in this version. Let's see if lumber's in this list. Lumber is in this list. Okay, so this is a lot more helpful than the first version that I had seen. So you can see lumber, and you can see that it's created by a water wheel sawmill. It can also be, it's a woodcutter is the job, and it's a material item. So this will come in very handy. There's no minimize button on this, so you just have to open it as you need it. The debug menu is the other mod I was talking about. This is where you can refresh the deer population. They also added in the ducks that they have available. There's a lot of other buttons on here that are very cheaty. Don't tend to use them. One thing is, even if this says it's raining, like it says it's raining right now, I don't actually have the weather effects turned on. That's strictly for the purpose of recording the video. Recording the video with the rain effects on. It just looks pretty bad, and the noise from the rain itself is also not that appealing. So we're going to leave the weather effects turned off. We'll not go over every single thing here, but you have several different menus, and we'll walk through them as we need them. This one's for homes, roads and bridges, different types of storage, city services, food production, resource production, where you can make the wood and firewood and all that kind of stuff. That's where that's all out. If you're interested just in building docks, you'll find that under the theme sets and docks and buildings that can be found here. One thing I'll say is if you're popping down, say, like these 3-piece docks, pop one down, wait for it to get built, then pop another one. If you don't, the people might walk out to the secondary plank and start building it, and then once it's built, they can't get off of it until this other one is built. So that's something to keep in mind. I ran into that problem in my second recording attempt, and had to kill it because of that. All my people died off. It was not fun. But we're going to get started here. For the most part, this town will end up going away at some point. I will demolish all of this. But for the short term, we're going to leave it here. And sometimes short term becomes long term. We'll see. But for the most part, I like to build a little small town and then start to expand somewhere else. It's like, where's my main town going to be? And in this case, we got a ton of flat area down in this area. We might build down in here. The downside is we're so far away from the river for our trading if we do that. So we might actually build our town over here. Have our main town, and we'll have several little towns around, but our main town here, and then we can build sawmill and trading posts over here. That might be pretty good. Yeah, I think we'll do that. If you've played the vanilla game, haven't played Colonial Charter, this version of the mod, you can no longer just build tools out of iron. That's these little gray blocky looking things. You have to smelt that iron first. This is iron ore. You have to smelt it into iron before you can actually build tools out of iron. Something to keep in mind. Colonial Charter, one thing it's really done for the game is really added a bunch of build chains, and you have to follow those chains in order to actually get the products you need. The good news is most of those products are needed to build buildings, or they're really valuable for you to sell later. So that's something to keep in mind. The other material here are rocks and stone, so you need those for things. And you can use this tool here, removal and destruction tools, and this will allow you to like cancel something you're building, remove resources. If I was to do this, all those little red dots is going to get moved. All your laborers will go out there and find that stuff, and they'll take it back to a stockpile. We don't want to do that. I'm going to right click to disable that. However, if I had done that, I could use this button here and highlight that same area and cancel it all. Then you also have one for just harvest trees. So if I was to highlight all this, you'd only get the trees. They wouldn't pick up the rocks or the iron. You got one for the stone, one for iron, one for just stone and iron. And there's a new one that Colonial Charter has added called Collect Wild Foods. Wild Foods is, let's see if we can see any easily here. I'm not really seeing any. There are some of those red dots there. So like, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's one right there. It's just wild food. So gatherers, there's a gatherer hut, and they'll go and they'll pick that stuff up as part of their job, and that's great. But if you get in a real crisis, you can use this tool and actually go and pick all those wild foods, and they'll take them directly to the barn, and you'll be good to go. I kind of use that sparingly in my test runs because it really diminishes the need for having a herb collector. Or not an herb collector, but a gatherer. There's another one called herb collecting, and they collect medicines. This is for removing roads. And flattened terrain. So flattened terrain, what this would do is if we had a hill right here, and we use that button, what it'll do is it'll tell it to flatten, and people will come over, your laborers will come over and clear the land first, and then once they've cleared the land, you use this button to remove that flattened area. You also have the option of the flatten power tool. I'd use this sparingly. If I was to highlight this big area with that tool, it would flatten it and delete all the resources on that land. You probably don't want to do that. Resources are something you really need, but it's there if you need it. And in cases with like really large mountains, you might use that just for the simple fact that sometimes people can't get to the trees that are on them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so that's a real quick overview of what we're going to be doing here. We're going to, in the next video, we're going to build a pasture for, let's see what we got here. It looks like we got some sheep. And so we'll build a pasture for some sheep. We'll probably build us a temporary fishing dock so that we can start getting some food in. And we'll build a gatherer's hut somewhere down in this area so he can start collecting some food too. We'll also build a woodcutter, and we'll see where it goes from there. So if you like this video, click like. If you didn't like this video, put a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments why you didn't like it so we can improve next time. And if you like what you're seeing, click subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.